I love you so. I always will. I look at you and see the passion eyes of May. Oh, but am I ever gonna see my wedding day? Oh, I was on your side, Bill, when you were losing. I'd never scheme or lie, Bill. There'll be no fooling. But kisses and love won't carry me till you marry me, Bill. I love you so, I always will. And in your voice I hear a choir of carousels. Oh, but Bill, you know I wanna hear those wedding bells. Let me introduce you to this band tonight. On cajon drum, Mr. John Gannon. On guitar, it's Mr. Tony Mandracchia. This cutie patootie in the back is Mr. Jonathan Richards on bass. And the one and only on the 88s, Mr. Ross Conley. But kisses and love won't carry me till you marry me, Bill. I love you so, I always will. And though devotion rules my heart, I take no vows. Oh, but Bill, you know I wanna take those wedding vows. Get ready to sing. So come on, Bill. Come on, Bill. So come on, Bill. Come on, Bill. Come on and marry me, Bill. I got the wedding blues. Come on and marry me, Bill. I got the wedding blues. I love you so. I always will.
Welcome to Meet the Biz. Today I'm excited. I'm happy. I get to hang out with a dear friend. I mean, she is one of the first friends that I met in Los Angeles when I got here, and she is one of my top 3 favorite singers. Yay! And her voice, that is her voice. Her voice gives my eardrum an orgasm. Should I say that? Yes, I should. The one, the only, Mary Jo Mundy.
Yay! See, I'm so glad to be here. Hi, honey.
Oh, hi, honey. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there, as to be expected, as all of us are right now. So,
Right?
yeah, crazy times. It's so funny because we originally did this like way back at the beginning of the pandemic, and
Yep.
now we're doing it again. This is like, it's kind of crazy.
I know. It's just, well, you know, we're in the moment, right?
We're in the moment. We're in the moment.
So tell me about the 45.
The 45. So what made me want to be a singer? It's like one of those moments that kind of sticks out. I was around 8 years old, and 8 years old is when I kind of discovered music, like records and things like that. You know, before that I had heard music, but I I didn't have a record player and all this stuff. But when I was 8, I got a little 45 player, and I, was into like music and trying to find 45s and stuff. And we were living in this place called Holbrook, Arizona. Oh my God, that's a whole other story. But anyway, I was there and I found this 45 outside. I was playing outside and I found this 45 in the dirt, basically, and it was all warped and stuff. And I looked at it, and on one side it said Soulville, and on the other side it said, If Ever I Would Leave You. And the singer was Aretha Franklin. And I remember going in and putting that 45 in a book and trying to flatten it out. And then I put it on my 45 machine and played it. And it, and I still have the 45. And it was just like, but it was so beautiful. Her rendition of If Ever I Would Leave You, it made me go, oh, hold on a second. Whatever that music is, that's what I want to do. And so that was kind of the moment where I was like, where I kind of discovered musical theater, but I discovered it through Aretha Franklin, which is so funny to discover musical theater through Aretha Franklin. But her voice and everything, just it was amazing. So
she's one of the first singing voices you heard?
Yeah, one of the first that I heard. Her, and then there was this Christian singer named Evie. And anybody who was in the Christian world knows Evie, because Evie had this album called Mirror, and it was one of those albums. It was like, again, one of the first albums that I listened to, and I used to sing to it. And it had this song on there called 4'11". Well, I ended up being 4'7", but I'm not. Back then I was even shorter, I'm like 3 foot or whatever. But it's like, I'm only 4'11", but I'm going to heaven, and it makes me feel 10 feet tall. They say I'm not too strong, but I've known all along they got the greatest power of all. He lifts me up, makes me shout, come to Jesus, that's what I'm all about. I'm only 4'11", but I'm going to heaven, and it makes me feel 10 feet tall. So that album and that song, I used to sing over and over and over, and I loved it. So those are the first 2 albums I actually owned, Evie's Mirror, and then this little 45 of Aretha Franklin's. And then that kind of then took me on the road. That's how I discovered Streisand. This was like 1977. So her greatest hits album was out. And I remember then I started singing her music. And I think the first song of Streisand's that I sang, I remember singing it to my mother. You belong to me.
My heart belongs to me.
Yeah, my heart. Yes, that's it. Yep. And so I remember sitting in my trailer with my mother and playing the cassette. I think it was a cassette back then. Yeah. So yeah, it was that's kind of the discovery of music for me.
It brings back such memories because I still have my 45s.
Yes, me too. I still have the case, everything, the case that it was in, everything. Yeah, I swear I do. I loved it. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. And my first 45 that I can remember, that I remember opening up, and it was my dad's, and it was Stoney End.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hello, full circle, Stoney End, and then me doing Laura Nyro, 40 years later, right? And yeah, who knew back then that was all, on that first, oh God, it's weird.
Now that I love that you brought that up, because I'm going to ask you to tell us about your latest CD, which is
it's called The 14th Confession, The Songs of Laura Nyro.
Yeah.
And it started back in 2016. A friend of mine, his name is Jim Green, a guy that I used to work with. He heard me sing. I think he came to the open mic or something. He heard me sing, and he came up to me afterwards and he said, Mary Jo, you need to do Laura Nyro music. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And I went and started listening, and I was like, Laura Nyro, I haven't even thought about it. But when I started listening to her music, I was like, whoa, yeah, I really feel like my voice could fit this. Because she had this high voice, but also soulful, but then she would do this little flip up into this higher voice. And I've always had that. So I started singing some of her stuff, and then I started working on a version of I Never Meant to Hurt You. And I I remember bringing that song to Ross Calling because I was looking for a piano player, and I was like, Ross, let's see if we can come up with something. And we sat down, and like in the very first session, we sat down, and he came up with that arrangement that's on the CD. And I was like, oh yeah, he's the guy for this. Like we just understood it and was like, yes, this is what we want to do. And that's kind of what started that journey. I got Ross, then I got backup singers, and then I got the band, and we ended up doing that show in 2016 and then repeating it in 2018. And that's when I recorded the CD live at the Gardenia.
And I was there.
Yeah, and you were there, and then released it. It's crazy that 2018, I just can't believe how much time has passed. Like that's, yeah. And then I released it. Actually, I released it June of 2019. Sorry, 2019. 2018 is when I did the show. And then I released it 2019. So yeah.
Well, you know, you were talking about you fit with Ross.
Yeah.
How do you, because you know so many, you know all the piano players, how do you know when to pick a piano player or who fits what?
It really depends on, it depends on two things. It depends on your chemistry with them, because a lot of piano players might play beautifully, but you don't really have any chemistry. It is a relationship, you know, that is a relationship that you have with somebody, and they bring stuff out in you and you bring stuff out from them. And everybody I've worked with, I've had some kind of chemistry with. I used to work with Todd Schroeder. He's one of the best piano players in this town, in the biz. And I did so many shows with him because he just really brought out the best in me. He's one of those piano players who just like, he's with you. And he did some amazing arrangements for me. And he's just incredible. He's now like, you know, off playing for really big people and stuff. And I'm so happy for him, but I wish I could do music with him more. But of course, you know, the world we live in now, who's doing anything, but loved him. And then I've worked with like everybody. I worked with like, everybody at the open mic. I mean, how many piano players, you know, were at the open mic? I can't believe how many people I played with, and who I've sung with over the years. But
well, talk about the open mic. It was your open mic. You're the one who created what?
Yeah, Monday on Tuesdays. It was called Monday on Tuesdays. It was, and believe it or not, it celebrated 20 years this year. July was the 20th anniversary. And it was really sad because we're in the pandemic. We're like Zooming. And so we couldn't have any kind of party or celebration. It was so, I was just like, wah. But yeah, it 20 years ago is when I created that. It was like July of 2000, and I handed it over to Carrie Kelsey 10 years in. She's been doing it for the last 10 years on her own, and now it's a whole other thing. It's now the open mic at the Gardenia. It was, at least. Now she's doing it by Zoom, which is great. And yeah, it's just pretty crazy that I've got to know and got to work with so many people through that night. It's if I look at the list of people I've worked with, it's pretty incredible. Like Tamir Hendelman. It's so funny because Tamir Hendelman is like this beautiful pianist who did a show with me in like back at the Cinegrill back in like 2000. And I remember when he was going to do Streisand's, what was it, the vintage thing in New York, the thing that she did where it was like the cabaret show. I remember writing to him being like, listen, you played for me first, you know, don't you forget you played for me first. But he's incredible. Him, there's so many, John Boswell, Ron Snyder, who we lost, who was just such a love. Mike Farrell, who used to play all the time.
Yes.
I mean, there's just a bazillion. Richard Barron. I mean, there's like a bazillion piano players who have played that night. And I really enjoyed doing that and working with all those people. I really miss that. I miss like, you know, singing live with pianists and stuff. I mean, we're doing the best we can right now, but I do miss that. So.
Yeah. So why cabaret? Why not? I mean, there isn't why not. You've done so many different things, but why cabaret? Why do you love it?
You want to know the real story?
I want to know the real story.
Here's the real dirt. The real story. And it's, you know, I think a lot of people go through stuff, but you know, when I was in my 20s, I was going to University of Arizona for musical theater. And I thought I was going to be a Broadway star. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be a musical theater. I wanted to do musicals. And then, unfortunately, I went through this period of time in my life where my body, for some reason, I put 80 pounds on in 3 months. My body just went in 3 months. And I come to find out much later that it was this thing called polycystic ovarian syndrome. Yay! And so I had this metabolic thing that made my body just go boosh. And so I gave up theater. And I remember I was in Chicago. I did like one show in Chicago and stuff like that, but it was really hard because I was such a big girl. I was like almost 300 pounds, and it was really hard to be on stage, and musical theater is exhausting. I mean, it's, you have to be, on your feet and all this stuff. So I remember in Chicago thinking, what am I going to do? Because I still want to sing. And I came across this little club in Chicago called the Gentry, and people were doing cabaret and singing, and it really, Gentry is more of a piano bar, but it was the beginning of me discovering what cabaret was. And then I did this group called the Blondes. I did a girl trio in Chicago called the Blondes, and I sang as much as I could and did shows and all that. And that's kind of what got me into that. But it really was because, unfortunately, I couldn't do theater, and theater was my first love, but I couldn't do theater. And then when I finally kind of fast forward to LA, and I came to LA in like 95 or 96, still really, really big, still struggling with that. And then discovered, the Gardenia, the Cinegrill, all, the piano bars, like the Oasis with Brian Miller, who we also just lost, who I love so much. And I started kind of exploring and singing and doing shows here. And then, fast forward to 2004, I had gastric bypass. And it's interesting because I think back so long ago, but, the reason I was able to do gastric bypass is because the community of singers got together and raised the money for me to have the surgery. We had a fundraiser. And
I remember that night evening too. In fact,
yeah.
my mom was in town, and we both saw you then.
Oh my gosh, that's so wild. And John Boswell played for me, and I remember it was at this place called the 1020, and I don't remember what the hotel was, but there was a hotel over on Sunset. I can't remember what the hotel was named, but Les Michaels used to do a bunch of shows there and stuff like that, and it was called the 1020, and we had the fundraiser there. And that's, and then, a whole other chapter of my life. I had the surgery, and then I lost 160 pounds. And my life kind of went this whole other direction. And at that time, I had done a show called Halfway to Heaven because it was a show about losing the weight. And I did that at the Gardenia as well, and recorded my first CD. So that was my first CD. And here is Chandler barking. Hey, Chandler.
Chandler.
Hi, Chandler. Could you stop barking? Come here.
We love
he's
oh,
yeah.
Look
Hi, Chandler. He's gonna bark. Anyway, but so then that's what led me to that first CD, and that was the Gardenia. And then that's when, around 2000, I started the open mic. And 2004 is when I had the surgery. And then 2005 is when I did the CD. So yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago, David. It feels like a lifetime
2005 was the CD, the first CD you did.
Yeah, Halfway to Heaven. Yeah. And I released that in 2007. I did it in 2005, but again, it took me 2 years to get the money together to release it. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That was a gorgeous CD. Oh my God. I mean, both of them
that was Todd. That was Todd Schroeder, played with the band, and some of the most, I love those arrangements. Hey, so do you see what's happening? I told you this dog is just going to bark and bark, and I'm not quite sure what to do.
Chandler, do you want like, woo! I love that. That's a note. I think Chandler wants to sing for us.
Yeah, there you go. I just gave him a little piece of cheese. We'll see if that quiets him down for a few. Anyway, so that was that whole journey. And I swear it seems like I said, a lifetime ago. I can't even believe. And I wish I could say that I lost all the weight and then I went on and had this theater career, but that didn't happen. I went on a whole other journey of other stuff, and still did the open mic and things like that. I wish I had went back to theater. I did audition for one show in San Diego, like maybe 5 years after my surgery, and I did my first dance audition. That was crazy, and actually got to a call back and all this stuff, but I didn't get in the show. But yeah, I just am like, dang, I wish that like I had went that road, but that's not what happens. So
right. If you talking about theater, if you were somebody said, okay, we want to put you in a musical, what musical would you like to be in?
Oh God, Sweeney Todd. I'd love to play Mrs. Lovett.
Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah, Mrs. Lovett. I think that would be the best role. I almost played that in college. I had an opportunity to play Mrs. Lovett in college, and I had vocal. Like I had done another show, and I had the vocal damage, and I couldn't sing like to my best of my ability, and so I didn't get that part either. So I ended up being in the chorus of it. But I love that show, and I thought, oh, I so would have made the cutest little Mrs. Lovett. So
Yeah,
I still now I would too.
oh, you'd be perfect.
Oh,
This is
I'd love it.
perfect time.
I would love it. Yeah. Yeah, it would be great.
Well, once we get out of quarantine.
There you go, Mrs. Lovett. That's the role I'd love.
So, okay, I'm going to throw something out.
Okay.
What is your favorite song?
Well, we both know what my favorite song is. Because it's your favorite song. So, what's your favorite song?
We have the same favorite song.
Yeah, what's your favorite song?
Lost Inside of You.
That's it. We have the same favorite song.
Why is that
Yes.
your favorite song?
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about that song, but it's like ethereal. Barbara's voice is so perfect on it. I remember seeing it in the movie. It's that scene, where he's like driving and it's just so emotional. I don't know. It's always spoke to me. I love, like, I have this thing. Okay, this is gonna sound crazy. Okay, so this is just between you and me. Nobody else is listening, right?
Right.
I have this thing where, like, I'm a Cancer, right? So I'm a little crab. So I have this little thing about like wanting to crawl into my shell, and I always kind of visualize like say I say to can I go in your pocket? Will you just put me in your pocket? Like I have this little fantasy of like, just take care of me and put me in a shell. And I don't know why that song, Lost Inside of You, I don't know why, but for some reason I get this image of being taken care of and just lost inside. I don't know. It's just the weirdest image, I know, but
No?
I just like being like enclosed and taken care of and wrapped up, and like I like weighted blankets. I don't know if I just love all that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Well,
But that's why.
hearing you, I'm getting like a little emotional here because again, we have that
Yeah.
song in common as our favorite song, and and I see the piano where she's at the piano and that
Yeah.
whole scene, and then how they go into the bedroom and just the music's playing in
Oh,
the
yeah.
bathtub. I
Oh
love
my God, with the glitter thing. I know.
And
And
then-
then to reprise it when he's driving, and it's, if you haven't seen the movie, what's going to, you know what's going to happen. But, you're just like, it's so emotional. It's so emotional. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And that's a great song. It's so funny that that's our favorite song too. And that we were like, and I remember being at the concert at the Hollywood Bowl with you, and she's singing it, and we're like, oh my God.
Oh my God! I get to hear it live.
I know. It's so good.
Oh my God!
Yeah. So,
Oh my God! I'm gonna go back in time.
okay.
Through the time machine.
Yeah.
You used to sing in church.
Yeah, I used to sing in church. My first solo was when I was like 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what I sang. I think Jesus Loves Me or something like that. And I remember it because I got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
And I remember coming outside, and I was standing outside with some people, I don't know, from my school or something like that. And I just remember thinking, whatever happened, I have to do this for the rest of my life. I have to sing. And it's interesting because I was like 6, and I remember music, and I remember like learning music and stuff like that. But again, I didn't really discover music until I was 8. So it was like 2 years after that when I really started discovering like records and stuff. But from 6 to 8, I do remember like my mom playing music and things like that. But I didn't have access to it. I was too young. But I did sing. I actually sang my first solo when I was 6 and got a standing ovation in church.
I bet you got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
I can see it.
It was great. Yeah. I love
And
singing at church.
And I'm just going where it takes me right now, throughout the timeline, boom, boom, the time machine.
Yeah.
You had the honor of performing in 2009 at the opening ceremonies of the Special Olympics.
Yeah. That was, by the way, it's like my best moment. I call it my Celine Dion moment because I get to hit a big old note in that song and everything. And it was just like, it was amazing. And Gary Smith, who I used to work for, I was his personal assistant. And I still like work for him every once in a while because I love him so much. He's like a second father to me. And he still calls me and has me help him with his computer and stuff. And he was the producer for that event, for the opening ceremonies in Boise, Idaho, and I was working for him, and he was like my biggest fan. I played my first CD for him, and he was just like, "I love your music," and he ended up hiring me. He's like, "Do you want to come and sing a song?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah!" And so I ended up singing a Todd Schroeder song. Actually, Todd and Kevin Fisher wrote this song called "Live," and it was for their musical. I believe it's called Unbeatable. It was this musical, and it was just the perfect words, perfect sentiment, really inspirational. And yeah, I ended up singing it at the opening ceremonies. And I don't know how many people were in that audience, but it was a huge stadium, just filled, thousands of people. And it was one of the moments. I'll never forget that moment. I'll never forget when I hit the big note. I'll never forget they started clapping and applauding like as I hit it. It was such a like chilling moment for me. So
it's seriously a stunning moment.
Thanks.
You know?
It was
I
really
said,
beautiful.
"That's Joe."
It's me. Oh my God. It was really, really amazing. But again, I wish I had like taken that and ran with it, because I could have probably done that circuit if I had really, it's interesting. I had a conversation with Karen Morrow like years ago about like, what's holding me back. And it really was like drive, like I had these moments, which was great, but the drive to just do more, it's like I get complacent. I'm like, okay, I've done it. That's good. I wish I had done more. I really wish I had went and done that circuit.
You say you wish you had done more.
I know, I still can't. I know.
I'm going to talk to you after this about hooking you up.
Okay, you gave me a good
somebody
talking
who
to.
books those kind of things.
Good. Yeah, I really would love to do that, because I love singing inspirational music. It's one of those things that I just absolutely love and adore, and think I'm really good at it. So I think it would be a wonderful thing to be able to do more of those. It would be amazing.
Oh my God. I would be a roadie. I would be following you.
That'd be awesome.
So when's your next album coming out?
Shoot. I've been thinking about it. I've been literally mulling it over, because I really would like to do a studio album. I've done 2 live CDs, and I really would like the experience of going into a studio and capturing some standards or music that I've always wanted to sing. So I'm starting to mull it over. I'm starting to talk to a few pianists to see what I'm thinking, and it'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen. Yeah, it'll happen. I'm not sure when, but it'll happen. Yeah, that's going to be my next CD.
I want to do a duet with you one of these days.
I know. We've been talking about that forever. We really do need to do that.
Yeah, we do. Who knows?
What duet? What would we sing?
Lost Inside of You.
That's true. Do you remember being in the car and we sang? I think I still have the recording of it. And we were belting out. Like, I think it was Funny Lady. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. What was the song? What's the song when she's like, she hits the light? What can I think of the song right now? It's like, how lucky can you get? How lucky can you get? That's it. It was how lucky can you get? Yes. And we were belting that out. It was hilarious. That was so much fun. Yeah.
It's it's those moments, just in the car and belting out. And,
yeah.
Oh my God.
That was fun.
What is your biggest dream?
It's funny because I have so many. I want to say, Broadway. Broadway would be a huge dream. It would be huge. It would be huge. And it's an interesting time right now, because you're like, is that going to come back? What's going to happen? Are people going to do that? We're just so up in the air. We don't really know. But I really, that would probably be number one. I think it would be incredible. Any part, any little part, a walk-on, a cameo. I don't care. I just would love to be on a Broadway stage. That would be amazing. I was supposed to make my New York debut this year. I was actually booked to go September 16th and take my Laura Nyro show to New York. And, with the pandemic and everything, that all got changed. But singing in New York, that's another dream. I didn't get to do that. I've sung in Chicago and LA, but I didn't actually get to go and take a show there. So I'd like to do that too. So.
You know what I just thought of? I thought of Mary Jo Monday, and I call you Joe.
Yes.
And you call me Z. When you were talking about that, Mary Jo Monday, everybody knows your name. And then I thought, fame. I want to live. But people do know who you are. You are a staple. Not a staple. You're like this.
Well, I've just been doing it so long, David. I mean, I've literally been singing, since I got here, since '96. I've been singing my whole life. Yeah. I definitely, there's a huge community of singers and people and performers, and I've been really blessed to be able to connect with so many through the open mic and through shows and all of that. And then there's a whole other level of like musical theater here that I haven't even started to. I just had barely. Hillary and I and Alexis were doing this show called The Right to Cabaret right before the pandemic. Hillary Rollins. Yes. That's where I'm at right now. Hillary's office. Hillary is my producer. She's like one of my best friends, but she produced my album. Amazing. And she's just a love. And I work for her. I'm her personal assistant as well. So we kind of have everything going. And we started the show called The Right to Cabaret, and that was like November of last year that we had started, 2019. And it was like this show where we had like guests and you had come because we had Karen Morrow, the first one, which is amazing. And I was really excited because, again, it was kind of an opportunity to meet new people. And I was just reaching out to the musical theater world here. I had booked a couple of people like Travis Leland, who's this amazing singer, and some people in the musical theater that I was just like so excited. It was a blend of cabaret and theater music, and a focus on lyrics. We were really trying to focus on lyrics and get away from, the whole musicality, but really focus more on lyrics and storytelling. Yeah. And it was really fun. And we had done 4 of those before the pandemic hit. And I miss that too. I'm like, please, can we go back? Because I would really like to continue doing that show as well. Yeah.
What advice would you give to singers? I mean, we have a class watching this right now of over 100 students from Performing Arts Studio West, Meet the Biz, the whole YouTube community. What advice would you give to singers out there who are just beginning, or they're trying to get their foot in the door, or maybe they've been doing it for a while, but they're trying to get their foot in the door?
Yeah, the best advice I can give is just keep singing. I mean, really, the best thing I ever did was just, I sang and sang and sang and sang as much as I could. I went to everything. I went to every open mic. I sang as much as I could, because when you use it is when you're able to hone the skill. That's kind of how you learn. You learn by doing it. You can't read a book. You can't, do stuff like that. It really is learning your voice through using it. And that's how my voice was very different in my 20s. I had a very different voice. And then when I started doing cabaret, I discovered a different kind of voice, a different sound. And you discover what works and what your voice has to offer, basically, to express these lyrics. And I just say to everybody to keep singing, sing as much as you can. Even right now, during the pandemic, it's been hard. I don't sing as much, and I notice it. Like I get a little insecure. I have to sing at something. I go, oh, I'm a little insecure. Before the pandemic, I wasn't insecure. I just knew how to get up, and I knew my voice, and I knew what I needed to do to deliver it. And I felt very confident. But when you stop using it, you start, the insecurity kind of creeps in. So I say right now, especially, do as much Zooming as you can, do as much, get on with tracks and sing, and continue to practice that muscle, because it's a muscle. You got to use it. So, yeah.
And now, to help salute the spirited athletes gathered in Boise, we're proud to present a new song from the upcoming Broadway musical, Unbeatable. Here to perform I'm Gonna Live, please welcome Mary Jo Mundy.
I spent years looking forward to the things I thought I had to do. Never took the time to see what really matters most to me. Now I'm ready. to promise you today. I'm gonna live, I'm gonna give to each moment there is all that I am, and every day I'm gonna pray I won't let a moment of life slip away. I'm gonna live. It's not an easy road, but it brought me here. And with each step I've had to face my fear. Though I have scars from falling down, I've learned to stand on solid ground. I'm ready to promise you today I'm gonna